Welcome back to the Opperman Report. I am your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Tonight we are here with our guest, Judy Byington. And she's the author of, scroll up, let's see here, she's the author of 22 Faces, Inside the Extraordinary Life of Jenny Hill and Her 22 Multiple Personalities. And you can find this at her website, 22faces.com. And also at another website called childabuserecovery.com. And also, if you want to get a hold of Judy, just info at 22faces.com. I know a lot of people like to book the guests we have on here. As a matter of fact, a lot more people like to book my guests, and I would appreciate following up and booking all my guests after I have them on the show. Give it a couple weeks, guys. Okay, try not to book my guests the same night that I have them on. Okay, so Judy, we were talking about people facing this kind of problem. When someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Judy, man, I see these signs in my kid, and I'm suffering from this, and I'm convinced this is going on," what kind of advice do you give them?
I think, first of all, you have to relate to whoever, is this is going on to. Say it's a neighbor child, and you feel that that child is being abused. As much as there may be some prejudice against Child Protective Services, there are a lot of good workers there that are really trying to protect children, and so that's the first step that needs to be taken, is to call the police and get Child Protective Services involved. And they may not be able to do anything about the situation, but one thing that we have found is that even if they go out and investigate and they don't get to the bottom of it, and at least the perpetrator is aware that somebody knows that something is wrong, and they are less likely to abuse the child again. So even though that may not work as we'd like to see it work, that's one way that you can protect them. But the most important step that you can take is to gain a relationship with that child and see if there's any way that you can get them to talk to you about their fears. If a child is going through abuse, it's usually something that overwhelms their personality to a point where they cannot talk about it to anybody because they're so afraid of everybody and everything around them. And if they can find a protective adult that will, step into their lives and create a relationship with them, it means so much. That relationship, that love, and just any type of love that you can give to that child is so important to them and their ability to overcome whatever they're going through. I think that's the most important thing that you could do, in addition to trying to protect them.
That's so true. Here's a kid that, what can they do? They can only look up to adults, and look for help from adults. They're helpless, in so many situations. And it would be great if more teachers and youth pastors and all this kind of stuff in the churches and the community, coaches, instead of being predators, would really be looking out to help these kids and try to help them out. But I've seen, too, as well, even public school counselors that have tried to help these kids that are in trouble, and then the other side, all they got to do is send a threatening letter to the school, and a threatening phone call to the school, and these sources of help will just back off and say, "Well, I can't get involved," and then they back off. Have you seen that as well?
Yes, I think that's a very common technique for any perpetrator, is to threaten people. And I found that in child welfare. I thought it was absolutely amazing sometimes that these people could have so much power. I remember one time I had a referral on two little girls who it was suspected they were being sexually abused by their father. And he through to the administration, and I was told I could not take these children to an evaluation, that they had to be taken to that evaluation by their father. And of course, when that happens, he threatens them the whole way to the evaluation. So what are they going to say during the sexual abuse evaluation? That they've been abused? Of course they're not. But these people have an awful lot of power, and they'll do anything so that they won't get caught in what they're doing. You have to go around it. You have to be brave enough to keep fighting on. What we did in this particular case is that I just went over to the county attorney and I said, hey, I've been told that I can't do this, and so we got the children put into a shelter situation so that they could be evaluated at the shelter and not be around the perpetrator, and got them some protection, by doing that way. You just have to keep fighting the system.
Okay,
and,
Judy, very
and
good.
Finding some way to help them.
I've done the same thing, and you contact the women's shelters, the battered women's shelters. They will help kids as well when the courts aren't helping, when CPS isn't helping. They will at least document what's going on. They'll open up a case, and you can use that in court. But we're joined by area code 623. You have a question for our guest, Judy Byington?
Yeah, this is your buddy, Bob, down here in Phoenix.
Hey, bro, what's up?
Hi.
Well, anyway, hi, Judy. You are doing one of my favorite subjects. And my question for you is, in your interviews, did you interview any Hollywood personalities or entertainment personalities?
No, I have not personally interviewed anybody in that position.
Well, the reason that I...
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Judy, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, most of my interviews have been with survivors, adult survivors.
And mostly in Utah, right?
The reason that I mentioned this to you and to Ed, for the listening audience out there, if you want to see an altar slip in, watch a 4-part series of an interview of Diane Sawyer interviewing Britney Spears. And you will see Britney begin to change her voice and begin to cry and begin to speak off of the subject. And I think that's one of the things that's important, because you get to see firsthand what it is that happens to these people that go through this ritual abuse.
Have you seen that, Judy?
I have not seen that one. That's interesting. I'll try and look it up.
Judy, she actually, it's like almost like something pops into her vision, and she looks over to the side and sees it, and then she starts talking in a British accent. Now, and she even goes, oh, and and she starts talking this British accent right in the middle of this interview, just like your the subject of your book probably did during her job interview. And Britney Spears was committed. She was she's under conservatorship till this day by her parents. She's not in charge of her own affairs. And also, too, there is a very well-known handler that's behind Britney Spears, who's, if you can look it up, there's a lot of documentation around this, text messages and stuff that are floating around on the internet with one of her managers that was, while this was going on in her life. And this same manager right now is involved with Courtney Love, Judy, any work or involvement or knowledge about Courtney Love and her situation?
I don't, but back on, when she was speaking in an accent,
yeah,
it was very interesting with Jenny's, one of her altars, in fact, the one, Vanessa, that was the gang rape altar. She was gang raped by a group of Latino men, and this altar that formed saw herself as a Latino lady. And there was a time when Jenny was up in Seattle where she was around some French-speaking people, and so this Latino altar started to speak in French, And so it was really interesting. These personalities take on the environment around them and decide, how they're going to act and how they're going to talk and how they're going to dress and things like this. It's just kind of an interesting situation. So Jenny herself didn't know how to speak French, but her alter did, which
Very
was
yeah.
interesting.
And also, too, if you look at around that time with Britney Spears, when she was going through that breakdown, she was constantly chased around by these paparazzi, and some of them were actually allowed in her home by this manager who was friends with them. She was dating one of them, these paparazzi guys. And they took her kids away from her, throughout all this. So just amazing. Now, what about Britney being a Disney kid? Have you noticed anything going on with these Disney? Look at Miley Cyrus now.
I just know that a lot of survivors have talked about Disney connections.
Okay.
In some of their programming, they are shown Disney movies, or there's something in some of the Disney movies that seems to trigger some of their personalities. And I don't really understand the Disney connection, other than there are rumors about Walt Disney himself being involved, but I have nothing to back that up, and all that is a rumor. And I would caution people to be very careful with things like that, because perpetrators try to deceive, and they try to involve well-known people into things just to make things sound not feasible, make them sound like, these people really are crazy. They're talking about, Walt Disney being involved in abuse or whatever. And so that could very well be that has happened. I know that they dress up in very professional makeup and costumes to make themselves look like different celebrities or politicians or whatever, as they abuse these children. And they always abuse the children when the children are under drugs and hallucinating and doing all kinds of things. So all these kind of weird type of stories come up about their abuse, which are done purposely to cover up what is actually going on and who actually their perpetrators are.
Very interesting, and that came out in the McMartin case when the kids pointed at pictures of Chuck Norris and also one of the district attorneys there in town too, and they said these are one of the people who came in and were molesting us. But now that brings up the case of Nicole Kidman and her dad. Now her dad was charged with pedophilia, with the child abuse, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. This Fiona Barnett over there in Australia actually said that this Dr. Anthony Kidman, who's Nicole Kidman's father, was her handler throughout childhood and had sexually abused her and done various things to her and taken her to these satanic ceremonies. And they had this commission over there, this child abuse commission, that was looking into these types of allegations. And when Fiona made these charges against Dr. Kidman, all of a sudden he left his position, which I think he'd been at the university for like 40 years as a psychologist, a professor. He left it and supposedly went to visit his daughter in, I think it was the Philippines. And he was over there a few days and then suddenly died of a heart attack, which is really interesting, too, because a lot of the people that have been involved in either trying to get this out or have been perpetrators who suddenly get found out, suddenly they die of heart attacks. That seems to be a technique that's used to get rid of people. And I think it's pretty blatant there with Anthony Kidman, what happened, because that happened within weeks of Barnett coming out with her allegations against him.
So he went down to the Philippines to meet with Kidman, and he died of a heart attack.
Yeah, Anthony Kidman went down to the Philippines where his other daughter was.
Oh, different daughter, okay.
He left in the middle of the school year. He left his position and goes down to the Philippines, and he was down there for a few days, and then all of a sudden he has a heart attack
now, very
and dies.
Interesting, because Nicole Kidman was married to Tom Cruise, the big Scientologist.
Right.
Yeah. So now, what if? Because in Scientology, the Process Church is an offshoot of Scientology.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you got what's his name? L. Ron Hubbard was buddies with Aleister Crowley, and doing rituals with Crowley. So you got all that stuff going on. Now,
so was Adolf Hitler.
Oh, was friends with Crowley?
Yeah, he was a fan of Adolf. Yeah, Aleister Crowley was.
Well,
yeah.
so was Kinsey from the Kinsey Report. Have you looked into that?
I haven't.
Okay, you should. I did a show with Dr. Judith Reisman, who devoted her life to studying Kinsey. And Kinsey was, in no doubt in my mind, a pedophile. But also, too, he was a fan of Crowley. He traveled to Crowley looking for Crowley's diaries. And also, too, at his home, Kinsey had Kenneth Anger, one of the, Lucifer Rising, this movie producer, fascinated with Satanism, was in his home, in his attic, producing films in Kinsey's attic. Again, it seems to be the same small group, over and over and over again, with their fascination with Crowley. Now, have you looked into the West Memphis 3 case in Arkansas, West Memphis, Arkansas?
I don't know that one. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, it was a murder of 3 little 8-year-old boys by fans of Crowley as well. Very interesting. So Bob, got any other questions?
Yeah. I was going to add that for the listeners, and then I'll get off the line and let somebody else get on. For the listeners and for Judy, if you want to get a picture, just have a general picture of their ritual, you can get on YouTube. It won't cost you a thing. And put in the search engine on youtube.com/watch. Put in the title Believers.
Right.
And it's about a psychologist who almost gets sucked into the Satanic Ritual Society. And that'll give you kind of an idea of, well, what is it that they do out there? Because a lot of people, they just kind of say, well, they're doing this ceremony. Well, what is it that they do? And it kind of gives you a better picture of what goes on without having to be there.
That's the movie with Martin Sheen, right?
Yes.
Judy,
yes.
Are you familiar with that movie?
I'm not. I try to stay away from those type. I get too much in real life.
I hear you too, yeah. But you want to know what? You know that cult down in Matamoros, Mexico, that was sacrificing all those people down in Matamoros, Mexico back in the 80s? At the ranch.
Oh, at the ranch? Uh-huh.
Yeah, there were smugglers. The head priest down there in Matamoros, Mexico, was a huge fan of that movie, Believers. And it seems to be something that they take very seriously. And it was run by Martin Sheen. He was in that movie.
Yeah, that was quite a movie that Kidman and them were in, too. What was the name of that one?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut.
Right. I've never actually watched that movie. I've heard about it. It didn't catch my attention. Couldn't hold my attention. But one thing that always struck me interesting with the whole thing, because Tom Cruise, and the whole Scientology thing, that's just knee-deep, and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that always struck me odd, and you don't see much of it, is that Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman adopted a son. And this son is now an adult. He's a DJ. And this son looks exactly like Lenny Kravitz, who Nicole Kidman is with now. So, how could that be? They look like father and son. you know, and so we didn't see her publicly pregnant or anything like that with Lenny Kravitz's son, and this was an adopted kid that they adopted, Cruz and Kidman. Could it be a child from another girlfriend of Kravitz or whatever? I don't know, but if you look at the pictures of this son and Kravitz, they have to be father and son. There's no doubt in my mind. It's so weird, right? You know. Now, what about other cases in Hollywood that you've seen that you should look at from a distance that you see that you might suspect things? Anything?
Well, Roseanne Barr is quite outspoken about the whole situation. You know that she is a multiple personality.
Right. And also, too, she hooked up with that guy, the fat guy.
Yeah.
That she was married to. Remember his name?
Yeah.
Because he actually did a movie.
I can't remember right off, but I know that she has been quite outspoken about ritual abuse in Hollywood. And there's several people in Hollywood that have thanked her for it because so very few will talk about it. But are you acquainted with Kathy O'Brien?
Oh, sure, yeah. I'm thinking about Tom
Yeah.
Tom Arnold, though, was also abused as a child. And he
was he?
Yeah, he talks about it. And he drug addiction problems his whole life. And he married Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie, what's her name again? Rosie?
Everything's slipping out of my mind, too.
I know,
what were we just talking about? We were talking about Kathy O'Brien and... I can't think. Anyway, they both spoke at a conference last year up in Canada about ritual abuse that was going on.
Okay, listen, it's Tom Arnold and Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne Barr.
Barr. They were married, and both of them were abused. Tom Arnold did a movie. I don't know if you caught it, about kids being abused and working on the streets and being shuttled around to different motels. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't.
Okay, you got to check that out. It's very, extremely realistic. Okay, it's a low-budget movie, but Tom Arnold's the big star in this movie, and very interesting. And it really shows how street kids live, you know, and get involved in prostitution, and you know, they were in movies and with elites and stuff like that. All as well. Very interesting movie.
Well, Roseanne has several YouTube videos out where she has spoken on about ritual abuse, and she's a really good speaker about it. You can look them up on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. Roseanne ran for president with Cindy Sheehan. I had extensive conversations with Cindy Sheehan and her opinions of Roseanne. Cindy Sheehan was on my show as well, and we talked about Roseanne, the whole thing with Roseanne, and her dealings with Roseanne were very difficult because of, you know, like one day you're talking to one person, one day you're talking to another person, which would probably be explained. But now Roseanne describes her as abuse as satanic ritual abuse.
Yes, she does. Like I say, she spoke at a conference on it up in Canada last year.
Right. And
there are some YouTube videos for speaking at ritual abuse conferences. I think they were in California. Just look them up on YouTube. She doesn't pull any punches. She'll talk about it. And she says that often people in Hollywood will approach her and thank her for, you know, exposing what's going on.
Very interesting. Now, Kathy O'Brien, you've met Kathy O'Brien?
I've talked to her on the phone a few times. She's quite a gal. As you know, she was a prostitute, White House prostitute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, then let me ask you this, because now that we know about this story about Jeffrey Epstein, right, where, you know, we have witnesses, you know, we have there was an investigation, a police investigation. We know who was on his flight manifest. Courtney Love was on his plane. Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton, President of Colombia, the President of Israel. You know, we know what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. So now, and it looks like all the people involved with Jeffrey Epstein had an interest in underage girls. Jeffrey Epstein's butler talks about how he had 3 little girls coming over every day. When you went into Jeffrey Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, and this is a convicted sex offender. He pled guilty. So I'm not worried about getting sued. I'm worried about other things, but not worried about getting sued. But when you walked into his home, and every girl, all these 34 girls described this, when they walked into his home through the kitchen entrance up to the massage room up there were pictures of 14, 15, 13-year-old girls naked in frames on the walls everywhere you saw. So anybody who went into that home saw these pictures. They were all witnessing child pornography. So now, if we can see that model of this group, and Jeffrey Epstein was friends with these model scouts, very famous people, like a guy named Jean-Luc Bernard, who was exposed on 60 Minutes as being involved in roofing little girls and stuff like that. And Jeffrey Epstein, in this case, it came out that there's allegations that Jean-Luc Bernard had access to passports, which could give little girls passports from the Ukraine and from the Thailand and all, flying these little girls around the country. Now, if we see that model, how can we believe this Kathy O'Brien model of sex slaves being in the White House when we see where the access to these elites are getting their girls from in this litigation with Epstein? You follow?
I'm not quite following what you're asking, but I do think that Kathy O'Brien has an excellent book out, that Transformation of America.
Right.
Where she just talks very blatantly about what happened to her and some of her experiences. She's certainly not crazy. She's certainly not talking, weird. She has been threatened. She was actually a witness at some of these congressional hearings on this CIA mind control.
Right.
Of course, they wouldn't release any of that information. That's the whole reason she wrote the book, is because the information she gave in the congressional hearings, they wouldn't release it, so she just put it out in a book. And she's under, she's under testimony there, and what she said in those hearings and in the book, and it's very believable what she says.
Yeah, I've never read the book, but I'm very familiar with her, and I've tried to get her on the show. She hasn't responded. I'd love to get her on here. Now, what about...
I think she has to go into hiding a lot. I think she gets a lot of threats.
Yes,
she'll come out and she'll talk about it, and then all of a sudden you won't hear from her for a year or so.
Yeah, and it also seems, too, because, even before I've gone public and all of this, I've also participated in a couple of congressional investigations, a couple of congressional hearings in my career. And I'm very familiar with some of these individuals that we're naming out here because of my work in the past. But now, have you come across any contact with Ted Gunderson? And a lot of people endorse Gunderson and don't endorse Gunderson. Where do you fall in on that?
I've just talked to people who know him,
right.
So I don't have any direct contact. And of course, he died a year or so ago.
No, yeah,
also of a heart attack, which some people question. He seems to have come across some good information in the videos that you can find on YouTube. Very interesting person. He claims that some of the allegations made against him were false, and I'm sure there's a lot of false memory people out there trying to discredit him as well as everybody else. But I've been impressed with what I've seen on YouTube.
Okay, I'm a private investigator. I knew Ted Gunderson, and I also talked to Jackie Maguli, who lived with Ted Gunderson. She was the mother in the McMartin preschool case, and she told me way back, like 1987, but around 1987, that Gunderson, on a daily basis, would talk on his phone to Colonel Michael Aquino. And when I asked her, why do you think he was talking to Aquino? She told me, was to make himself feel important, But she told me he was in daily contact with Aquino. And then later on, now you hear these accusations from people like Stu Webb and stuff like that about Gunderson. And he did marry the ex-wife of Anton LaVey. What do you make of that?
Yeah. Well, I heard that only lasted a very short period of time, and that he said the reason he did it was to get some information.
Oh, really? And who'd you hear that from?
That was from, can't remember his name. He's another radio announcer. I can't remember his name right now.
Okay, that's.
But he knew Ted. He knew Ted personally.
Yeah. Like I said, when I talked to Ted too, I liked him. I respected Ted. But then I heard that other thing, from Jackie Magooly, who I definitely believe. I believe Jackie Magooly 100%. Just because of all the stuff that Alex Constantine. Oh, by the way, I got to get a hold of Alex Constantine. But all the stuff that the work he did on that case. And Jackie Magooly has come out too, not endorsing Ted at all anymore. So I don't know. I'm just kind of feeling around. I want to do a bunch of shows about Ted Gunderson as well. So we're taking calls 702-605-4894, or you can Skype in at ed.opperman. I'm going to play a little commercial here, a little 4-minute ad. We're here tonight with Judy Byington, the author of 22 Faces, Inside the Extraordinary Life of Jenny Hill and Her 22 Multiple Personalities. The website for that is 22faces.com. That's 22faces.com. You can get some free chapters up on there. Also, Judy is involved with a website called childabuserecovery.com. And if you want to book Judy for a guest appearance, info at 22faces.com. We'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. We are listener-sponsored, and we appreciate your donations. If you like the show, please visit OppermanReport.com and click on the donate button. Or you can donate directly through PayPal at OppermanReport@gmail.com. We have Mike Ray of InfinityHomePlans.com. He's the host of Parlay over at CJ Mars Radio, Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you need custom home designs, stock plans, or 3D work, he's your one-stop shop for home design and drafting needs. Mike Ray at InfinityHomePlans.com. If you're looking for essential oils, stop by and check out Essentially Tammy on Facebook. She is the Young Living Essential Oils independent distributor. And these are 100% therapeutic grade oils that help support the body's natural functions. You can visit her website posted on Essentially Tammy to see the current deals, or email at JockoTammy, JOCATAMI.com, or call 352-239-8546. 352-239-8546. Hey, if you need a private investigator, go to my website, emailrevealer.com. We offer asset searches, locates, skip tracing, adoption investigations, online infidelity investigations. We can recover deleted text messages from a cell phone or trace an email to online dating websites to catch people cheating. That's emailrevealer.com. Or you can call 800-572-9762. 800-572-9762 or email revealer.com to our website. Pacific West Bamboo. It's your premier source for construction and craft-grade bamboo poles. They're announcing their latest project with EcoHead Event Sanitation, making bamboo composting bathrooms and porta potties. Their first display will be at the Lucidity Festival in Santa Ynez, California, April 11th to the 13th. Come by and say hi and see what you can build with bamboo. Contact them for any kind of event planning, display building. If you need construction grade or craft grade bamboo products, call Amanda at 503-839-8126, 503-839-8126, or visit PacificWestBamboo.com, their brand new website. We also sponsored by the New World Mexican Market. This is a rural Mexican craft women's property. They are traditional makers of fine handcrafted authentic jewelry. And they're beautiful stone mosaics, Pacific blue, abalone green. They have a wonderful selection of love letters written to the men in the United States, begging them to return to the foreign countries. But the written music, and it's about a young girl that falls in love with a rodeo bullrider and runs off with him without telling her family. It's a beautiful love story called Azucena Part 1, Azucena to the Rodeo. You can find their books and jewelry by clicking on their gallery at OppermanReport.com or by Googling New World Mexican Women. You can also promote your business or website right here and have your ad played all over the world 7 days a week by email OppermanReport@gmail.com or calling 800-572-9762. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. The show is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Opperman Report. Get yourself a free audiobook, and help support the show. Also, too, guys, don't forget, please keep in mind the members section. Got a whole bunch of new shows coming up. There's a lot of great shows up on there. The show with Timothy Homestead last week alone is worth the membership for a year. But we're joined by another caller here. Area code, I think it's 801.
Hi, Ed.
Hi. Amy?
I'm calling. Yes.
Hey, how are you? Okay. Go ahead, Amy.
I got up my nerve.
There you go.
Are we on?
Yeah, you're on the air. So your question is about this guy, Bishop Pace?
Oh, okay, so I have a question. I'm from Utah, and I have a friend who is a victim, a good friend, and she was research, and she had heard about the Pace memo, and she looked it up and saw a picture of Bishop Pace and just about lost it because she said that he was the one that had given her electric shock when she was being tortured. So I'm just wondering what Judy has to say about that.
What do you think, Judy?
I know that these perpetrators go to great lengths to disguise themselves as people that would be influential in the church and in the community, and I have heard stories like that from other survivors about authorities in the LDS Church. I personally think that there appears to be a group in Salt Lake. They're Masons. The Masonic Temple on South Temple was built at the very same time the LDS Salt Lake Temple was built. And I could go into the history of all that, but in the early pioneers and a particular Satanist by the name of Francis Lyman, who was a counselor to Brigham Young and to Joseph Smith. He ended up starting what they called the spiritualism movement, and went down to California and tried to convert a lot of people to it when they were settling the saints in California. And then when he got back to Salt Lake, he was excommunicated from the church. But he was involved in this group that were building the Masonic Temple. They also built up the first state capitol down in Fillmore, this group of so-called businessmen, which didn't work out as the state capitol, and Brigham Young had to get, they'd used up all the money from the government to build the state capitol, so Brigham Young had to raise his own to get the state capitol back in Salt Lake. But anyway, these businessmen, from what I have read in the history, were very involved in Satanism, and from the survivors, especially from the Hadfield case here in Utah, there's evidently what they say is a room that looks just like the Salt Lake Temple endowment room built into the basement of the Masonic Temple there on South Temple. And there are tunnels that go into that particular room from the outside, and they drug these children. They dress up as prominent people in the community. I've even heard senators and other people being named. Then they will abuse them, and these children are under drugs at the time, and they will go to great lengths to make you believe the perpetrators are people different than themselves, obviously, because of what they're getting away from. That is my own explanation of, statements like that. She has her memories, and she certainly has to decide, what's true and what isn't true. And I wouldn't want to influence that one way or the other. I just think that these perpetrators do go to great lengths to try to disguise and cover up what they're doing. And I know that the LDS Church has gone to great lengths, more than any other large organization that I'm aware of, to rid themselves of Satanists in their midst. Although there are still some there, we know that. They're everywhere. But I met with the LDS Family Services just last summer on the satanic problem within the church, and they're very actively involved in trying to define who the perpetrators are and getting them excommunicated and turning over their information to legal authorities.
Well, let me ask you guys, both of you, because you're familiar with the... I have a source who comes to me. He's afraid to come on the air, but he was molested as a child by the in the Boy Scouts in Utah. And my understanding is that the LDS has taken over the Boy Scouts leadership nationwide, and pretty much controls the Boy Scouts of America right now. And his information he sends to me is that the Boy Scouts are systematically abusing children, and are controlled by the LDS. You guys know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that. I would seriously doubt that, but I don't know his sources or where he's coming from.
Okay.
When you were talking about the Masons and the that Masonic temple that's on South Temple, I feel like. Are you saying that it is going on in the Masonic Temple?
I'm saying that I have heard from survivors that it is. I don't
so
have
do
any
you link
personal
Masons
knowledge
to it?
of
Because Joseph Smith was a 33rd degree Mason, and I mean, how do you explain
Joseph Smith, they never accepted that 33rd degree in the Masonic order with Joseph Smith, and he quit that after it was organized. They did have a Masonic lodge there in Nauvoo, but they weren't accepted by the other Mason orders, and they dissolved the lodge. I know that was true at one point. But I know the church does not promote Masonry at all. In fact, any members of secret societies like that, they actually will excommunicate them from the church.
Well, how do you explain the prophet shaking hands with George W. Bush with the secret handshake? I mean, there's pictures on the internet of that.
The secret handshakes, I believe, in the church were handed down from Adam and Eve. And how the Masons got a hold of them, I don't know. But, see, we believe that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church, is a restored church of the church that Jesus established here on earth when he was here. And, I don't know the relationship there with the Masonic handshake, but I know that those handshakes, they are the same. Yeah.
Okay. It just seems like there's an explanation in the sense of the Mormon Church for everything that comes up, and so it just makes me wonder, why there's always an explanation or a reason given that makes it all pure and everything, when in every other, if it wasn't Mormons, then it would be like they're evil. I was born and raised Mormon, so I know all about it. It just seems like you're covering for them almost. I hate to have to say that, but...
Well, you have your experiences. I have my experiences. My experiences has been, I've had the only interview Elder Pace has ever given on the LDS report, and I felt very good about what he tried to do and what the church tried to do enabled to catch perpetrators and to turn them over to legal authorities and to excommunicate them from the church, and they are still doing it. From my experience in talking to the leaders of LDS Family Services, they are very active in trying to do that. But my experiences with the church are different from yours. I can only, explain it from my point of view. And my point of view is that they are very actively trying to find any perpetrators they can and excommunicate them.
Okay. Can I ask you another question? This one's just a little bit off of that topic. The Browns in Provo, that sexual molestation case. Do you know what I'm talking about? The piano trio.
Oh yes,
And how the dad had been molesting the girls and for a long time. I'm wondering if you think that they're involved, and the reason why I ask is because my old boyfriend, those are his cousins, and his mother was DID, and he was abused as a child and doesn't remember it. His family members remember it and tell him. So I'm just wondering if you think that they're part of it too.
I can't comment on that because I don't know. All I know is what I've read about that case in the newspapers, which is probably a lot less than what you know about it.
Okay. Well, I guess that's all I have to ask right now. Thank you for letting me come on.
Hey, Amy, thank you for calling, okay?
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, boy. Well, were you involved with David Scherter? Were you involved with his conversion to LDS?
David actually came to Salt Lake and asked me to take him to Temple Square. That was the first time I knew that he, was interested in the church, and I did take him over to Temple Square. I was involved with it that way, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's very interesting. Well, we're down to the last 7 minutes, and then I got to get some food and go to bed. Okay, Judy, thank you so much. Anything you want to leave us with before we go tonight?
Just again that I think the biggest problem we have in our society is denial, and that we don't want to believe that this is going on. And these people are very powerful, and they are very conniving, and they try to do many, many things to make you believe that they aren't involved and that the other people are. And I think this last conversation is a typical conversation, a typical situation with that. I think we need to do our own research on it and make our own decisions on it because it can be very, very confusing. But I just know that these children need help, and we have to do whatever we can. I would like to leave you with some information from the 2007 Extreme Abuse Surveys, and you can Google this on the Internet to find it yourself, but it really pointed out to me that this is still going on. In that survey, there were 543 stated they had been ritually abused in a satanic cult. Half of those were born after 1964, which was after the CIA said they shut down their program. Many of them were born after 1973, and then 147 said that they were presently being accessed by the CIA program. 124 said that their perpetrators went by the name of Dr. Green, and 451 said that their abuse group was national or international in scope. It's something that we can't ignore and something that we need to look into and research ourselves and decide what's going on so that we can decide what we can do about it as individuals and as citizens and as protectors of children. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be on, Ed. You do a great job.
No, thank you very much. This is all. We all have to agree that we're on the same side here, in exposing this crap. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. It seems like in this area, more than any other area that I investigate and I put on the show, that there's this kind of bickering and backfighting and opposition in the background, back and forth, more than any other category of investigation, even the JFK assassination. We have those guys on. You know what I'm saying? So there's obviously a kind of COINTELPRO insertion and agitation going on here between people who are trying to expose this, what's going on. So and all we can keep doing is keep pushing forward, and supporting each other, and trying to get out here all the information that we can as accurately as we can. So if people want to get a hold of you, they can go to info at 22faces.com if they want to book you or have you come and speak or anything like that. Judy, thank you so much for coming on, okay?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, man. And maybe we'll have you come back soon. If you have anything else you want to talk about, just let me know, okay?
Oh, I'd love to come back, and I'm sure Kevin and Nat would love to come and talk to you, too. He's got a lot of good information.
Well, okay. We can get into that, too, as well, okay? So, Judy, thank you so much, okay? And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay, and then we had Judy, what's his name here? Judy Byington, the author of 22 Faces, Inside the Extraordinary Life of Jenny Hill and Her 22 Multiple Personalities. You can find that at 22faces.com. You can also find her at childabuserecovery.com. Friend of David Schurter. I trust David Schurter. So there's that, okay? You want to get into all the stuff about Arnett, Kevin Arnett. I looked into it. I see nothing there. Okay, and I can't deny that I see any value in what he's putting out there. I don't think it exists, and that's just as straight as I can come to you. Okay, if someone wants to come to me and present his case, we can talk about that. And maybe we'll have him on the show. But just from what I see, the people he's associated with and stuff like that, I think they're frauds, and I think it's a bunch of nonsense. Tomorrow I have Richard Steele, the boxing referee, cut on my show. I got this week a West Memphis 3 show going up in the member section. Who is a huge get. Okay, guys, trust me on this. I'll be blunt with you. Listen, the member section is really faltering off as far as subscribers. I haven't seen a subscription in days. Okay, especially at a time when people on Facebook know that we're really suffering right now and going through some extreme stress with this custody thing, right? With me and Victoria, and Victoria's mom. There is really, really good hope and opportunity with that situation that we can get it resolved hugely in our favor. Okay? And I have the assurances that they're going to be signing this agreement. They may have signed it already. I don't know. Because I've been on the air. Okay. Well, hey, by the way, we're saying goodnight to Awake Radio. Good night, guys. And I'll keep continuing here on, what do you call this thing here? On Spreaker. And it'll be on iHeart and YouTube. But Awake Radio, thank you so much. Granada Steve, God bless you. Everybody pray if we can run out of Steve, man. Our friend Granada Steve, who runs Awake Radio, is ill. He has a chronic illness, and he needs our prayer. We all know the power of prayer. Let's pray for our friend here, man, and hope that he gets a relief from the stress and the illness that he's under, man. Good night, Awake Radio. But we're still live here on Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio and TuneIn.com and Stitcher.com and YouTube.com. So I have a couple little comments to make now that I'm not on the, what do you call the the hammer of all these stations I gotta deal with. Okay, I love them all, but God bless them, man. What a hassle dealing with these stations, man. Forget it. But now here I am. This is my own station. This is me. Okay? And by the way, this may be our future, guys. Okay? Everybody keep in touch. Stay on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, TuneIn.com. Subscribe to all these places here. Go to Opperman Report on YouTube and subscribe, follow. Do all the stuff you got to do to keep in touch with the show. Because I have an announcement coming up where I am taking a hard line and we are going to back away from all the crap and all the nonsense and all the BS going on out there. Flat Earth, two suns, all this crap, stars, moon, fake stars, all this crap, goodbye. I want no part of you, okay? I want no part of that crap. I'm done with it, okay? I do not want to be associated with such stupidity and insanity, okay? It seems to me that what has happened over the past 10 years is, first we had Art Bell, and then people got woo-woo, all this stuff. Ooh, look at Art Bell, UFOs and ghosts and aliens. And, okay, fine. Everybody was titillated by that. Then along came Kerry Cassidy and Ryan, with really bizarre stuff about, bases on the moon and the secret space program and all this stuff, and jump rooms and, the David Wilcox crap. Give me a break. If you look at Kerry Cassidy and everything on Project Camelot, 99% of that stuff today is proven all crap. It all, what was that guy, Bulford, all this nonsense, man. It turns out to be they're all nuts and a bunch of crap, And now, in the last few months, we got all this crap, total crap, about flat Earth and fake moons and fake suns and two suns in the sky and the sun's not setting in the same place. Total nonsense from people that are frauds. I don't want any part of that stuff, guys, okay? And also, too, okay, as far as this, everything's a false flag and everything's blah, 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 crisis actors. Okay, tunnels under Walmart. Give me a break. Come to me with some facts, man. Let's look at this stuff, I don't want to be associated with any of this nonsense anymore, okay? Is there stuff that's weird that we need to look at? Okay, like Boston bombing. Okay, fine. 2 FBI agents fall out of a helicopter. Witnesses are getting shot. Something's going on there, okay? But don't tell me you're looking at a picture and you see this and you see that and people aren't expressing the right expressions on their face. And a bunch of nonsense. Okay, leave me out of that. Leave me out of that. I want no part of that. Okay? About YouTube videos, people, they're not reacting the way they should be reacting. Charleston church shooting. Was someone's involved with some real estate agency that donated money to Obama. Listen, all I'm interested in here, okay, is real, reliable facts with the sobriety of time that we can take the time to investigate things and look things up and then discuss them, okay? A lot of the stuff we discussed tonight is real. McMartin's real. Satanic ritual abuse, Aquino, this stuff is all real. It's reality. Okay? If stuff comes up that I think is crap, I'm going to call people on it. Okay, like this Annette stuff. Okay? Hey. So my plan was to put out a nice press release, nice and polite and researched, and calmly discuss how we're taking a different turn with this show. And if I got to drop some stations, I'll drop some stations, man, okay? And we'll stick with this. We're just what we're doing right now, okay? We got to stay real. We got to stay focused. We got to stay sober. We got to stay in reality, man, firm, feet on the ground, and not this crap about such idiocy, man. That, if we're flying on a plane to California and the Earth is revolving, how come it's nonsense. Okay? There's atmosphere in this stuff. This is craziness. And I've had it with all that stuff. I've had it, man. I've had it. Okay? I've had it. Okay? So that's one issue we're dealing with. We are distancing ourselves from that crap. That's it. I want no part of it. I want no part of it, guys. Okay? Come to me with some evidence, but this nonsense, I don't want to hear it anymore. So that's that. Sponsors, we need sponsors, guys. Okay? We need sponsors to keep this going. I'm working on getting our grant. I'm working on taking film classes to produce these documentaries like I want to do, that we have access to information like no one else has, guys. Why? Because we got our feet on the ground. We're in reality. We're focusing on truth and justice in the American way. Okay? We're trying to bring you the truth, okay? And we can do documentaries because people respect what we're doing. Okay? It's not nonsense. It's not crap. So, but in order to get from here to there, we need the $20 every 3 months. We need the $6 a month. We need the $75 a year to keep us going from here to there. Because once we started the member section, the donations just disappeared. We got nothing. So, very little. Except when I'm in huge trouble. Now, my personal life. Me and Victoria, we have a really good chance of getting out of this custody stuff. Supposedly, we have an agreement which will give me full custody. And will give me Victoria here 5 days a week. And we'll be out of this mess. The alternative is that I lose all custody. If we go back before this judge hates me so much. And I'm going to do a whole series of shows about this, guys. Okay? Stay tuned. Okay? I'm going to charge $10 a show on what I'm going to bring you on that stuff. Okay? This judge is so freaking insane. You have no idea. It's the judge and my ex-wife's lawyer are the ones that are keeping this case progressing and continuing forever. My ex wants this to end. She wants to sign the papers with me today. This judge is saying, that if we go to trial, we're going to trial on Tuesdays, guys, okay? I got no money even to get in a cab and get over there, okay? But we're going to trial on Tuesday. And if we go to trial on Tuesday, I've lost already. I lost before I even walked in there. This judge has already said it. I've lost. Okay? I went in there. We just had a hearing, a preliminary hearing on Tuesday. And I went in there with canceled checks and photocopies and documents that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's no way you could fake this. That my ex-wife's lawyer stole $120. Okay? And then he's busting my balls. He wants me to pay this $120 twice. Okay? I show it to the judge. I show it to the lawyer. Well, send the proof over. I sent a proof over. We never got it. We never got the check. We never got the proof. We never got the emails. We never got the phone calls. We never got the letters. Nothing. Okay? I know what I testified for Congress. Okay? I know what I'm doing. So I show the judge. I show up. I said, look, here's all the originals. Look at it. The judge is pissed off at me because I proved that this guy stole $120. That's what I'm dealing with. Okay? And it is so bizarre and so unbelievable. But it's all on videotape, guys. Okay? The courtroom that I'm in is the same courtroom where that woman went into the court and complained about the bailiff molesting her, and then they arrested her. That's the court I'm in. Okay? So, but I thank you for your prayers. It's almost over. We're almost out of this crap. Okay? It's almost over, guys. We're so close. The ex-wife is agreeing to give me full custody, to give me 5 days a week with my kid. And all this nonsense ends. That's what she wants. If she can stay strong and sign this paper, we're done. If not, we go to trial on Tuesday. I lose just walking in. I may not even go. That's how bad it is. And then I have to start disqualifying the judge and appealing, and another 3 years of misery and hell. And you know what? If that happens, the show is shit. I mean, we're done. You know, I've been able to hold on for like 18 months with all this going on with this custody stuff, and still do the show with, you know, like 75% of my attention on the show. The way I live right now, I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is this custody case. I go to get food, and I go to the shop, and then take my kid to school, and this kind of stuff. All I'm thinking about all day long, okay, is this freaking case, okay? So it's way too much of a drain in my life to do both for another 3 years. So that's done. I can't do that. There's no way. So, but we got to stay positive. We got to move forward, and hope and pray that they sign this and we're out of this and it's over. For the rest of my life, it's over. My kid can live in peace. I can live in peace. So that's where we are with that. The member section, I'm doing the best I can. Once this is over, man, if stuff gets signed Monday, I got a signed paper in my hand. I'm working on the member section all day long. I'm working on getting a grant to do the films. We want to do some appearances, a seminar here in Vegas. We definitely got that. We can get the Mark Ebner and Scott Michaels to come out here. Dave McGowan, he's sick now. He probably won't come. By the way, too, I heard from Dave directly. He was too sick to come on that day, and he couldn't make it, which is fine with me. God bless him. People should go. Dave McGowan, people should know he's a big friend of the show. And people should know that his website is called Center for an Informed America. And he can't work right now because he's sick. He got cancer. So we need to support him. You can go there and make a PayPal donation. So that's with Dave. Let's see. What else? Coming up, Alex Constantine is coming up. We have a big guest from the West Memphis 3. A couple of shows, West Memphis 3 shows coming up in the member section. Alex Constantine is coming on the Friday night show. A lot of stuff coming up, guys. I'm exhausted, man. You have no idea. But listen, I love you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling in. Oh, let's see. Got a whole bunch of messages here in the Spreaker chat room. From now on, the Spreaker chat room is where I'm going to be. That's where the only resources that I can read these messages and follow up and communicate with the audience during the show's on. Let's see, what else? Anything else? Working on a couple of casting gigs. I'm trying to, if you live here locally in Vegas, get a hold of me because I'm trying to cast some different local movie projects and stuff like that. I can get you on. There's a zombie movie I'm working on, and a couple of commercials that I can get you booked on Comic-Con. I could have got you on there. Let's see what else is going on. Need a PI? Emailrevealer.com. Always looking for work, you know that, right? And looking for a sponsor who has a car dealership and wants to really pump you up and take over that spot in the beginning where we normally do the audio book company there. All right, guys, I'm exhausted. Okay, good night. I love you all. Thank you so much for your prayers. Thank all you guys on Facebook that have been, making all these great comments and praying for me and supporting me and giving me encouragement. You have no idea how much that means to me. Just when you see a little $5 donation comes in, you think, well, yeah, the work I'm doing means something to somebody out there. I have value in somebody's life, and when I see that, I really do appreciate it. So, guys, love you all. God bless you. Tomorrow, I'm doing an interview with Richard Steele, the referee, and let's face it, Richard Steele's been interviewed probably 1,000 times in his life. You know my interviews could be like no other. Okay, I'm not patting myself on the back, but come on, you know I'm going to talk to this guy about stuff no one else has mentioned to him before. So, okay, so that's where we are, guys. I love you. Good night. Goodbye.